Welcome to the online training module on the Test Delivery System, or TDS. This module is designed to help you understand the test administrator and student interfaces used during online testing. Individual state systems may vary. Please contact your state documentation for more information. After viewing this presentation, you should be able to use the test administrator interface to start and run a test session, view student test settings and accessibility resources, monitor the testing process, pause and stop a test session, print test session information, and exit and log out of the test administrator interface. Please note, the navigation instructions that follow are from the viewpoint of a Windows PC user with a 2-button mouse. Your steps may vary depending upon the device and operating system you are using. Test administrators may access the teacher interface through any supported internet browser to administer tests. However, students must use the secure browser to log in to the student interface. The secure browser is designed to ensure test security by prohibiting students from accessing any other programs or websites during testing. It is important to maintain test security in order to protect the integrity of the ELPA21 assessments and to ensure that results are accurate and meaningful. Test security goals include providing secure assessments that result in valid and reliable scores, maintaining consistency across all testing occasions and sites, protecting student information and maintaining confidentiality, and protecting the investment of resources, time, and energy in the assessment. School technology coordinators are responsible for ensuring that the secure browser has been correctly installed on all testing devices. Building coordinators and test administrators who have questions about the secure browser should contact their technology coordinator. Users can access the test administrator interface in 3 easy steps. First, navigate to the Iowa Department of Education portal. Log in, select the appropriate organization in the upper right-hand corner drop-down menu, and then click Iowa ELPA21. Next, you'll be directed to the Iowa ELPA21 portal. On the left side of the page, click the appropriate roll card. Finally, click the card for Operational Test Administration to enter the Test Administrator interface. Once the test administrator has logged in according to the directions on the previous slide, he or she will see the test administrator interface with the test selection window open by default. From the test administrator interface, you can access the features you need to create and manage test sessions, look up students, and access help information. We'll begin with an overview of the interface. When a user first logs into the test administrator interface, the test selection window appears automatically. This window closes when the test administrator starts the session. After starting a session, the session ID appears at the top of the test administrator interface along with a stop button. When students start signing into the test session, an approvals button also appears next to the session ID. Once the test administrator approves students for testing, the test session table appears in the center of the test administrator interface, displaying students' testing progress. Additional features are available in the banner at the top of the screen. The first step in administering a test is to create a test session. This should be done less than 20 minutes prior to starting the test in order to prevent the system from timing out. The list of students in the session will generate automatically when the students log into the session. You create test sessions in the test selection window that appears when you log in. To create a testing session, click the tests you wish to administer. You may select all available tests listed for all grade levels and all content areas. Be assured that students will only have access to the tests that the test administrator has selected for them. Once you select your tests, the Start Session button in the lower left corner of the window activates. Click the Start Session button. Please note, the exact name of the button may vary by session type, either practice or operational. The system will automatically generate a session ID. The test administrator may write it on the board or provide it to students using a printed card or similar method. If you do provide students with the information on paper, be sure to collect and destroy it when the session is complete. You should also note the session ID for your own records. In the event that you are involuntarily logged out of the session due to an inactivity timeout or other event, entering the session ID will allow you to resume the session. If you do not have this information when you try to resume, you will be unable to do so. If a student is having trouble logging in, use the Student Lookup feature to verify that the student's login credentials are correct. You can use either the Quick Search or Advanced Search option to view the information entered in TIDE for the student. With Quick Search, you simply enter the student's SSID and click the Submit SSID button. Advanced Search allows you to narrow your search using several filters, including district or school, grade, and first and last name. When using either Quick Search or Advanced Search, if the search results in matches, the information will appear in the bottom of the window. If there is no match, you will see an error message. If you see the student you are looking for, click the I button next to the student's name. A new window displaying the student's information will display. Note that the information displayed may vary slightly from what is shown here. On the next few slides, we'll look at what students see when they log in to take a test. To log into the online testing system using the secure browser, students must enter 3 pieces of identifying information: their first name, their state-assigned student identifier, SSID, and the current session ID. Only the session ID is unique for each test administration and each proctor, so this is the only information that will change through the test window. TIDE allows teachers to print out students' information on test tickets so that students can log in to the online testing system without needing to memorize their SSID number. When entries are complete, students will click the Sign In button to log into the test. The test administrator may assist students with logging in if necessary. The session ID is generated when the test administrator creates the test session. It needs to be given to students by the test administrator when it is time for them to log into the test. Session IDs should not be generated more than 20 minutes before students are ready to log in. If a student is having difficulty logging in, an error message and error code will display on the login screen. The most common errors occur when the student's first name and SSID do not match what is in the system, and when SSIDs are entered incorrectly. If the student receives an error message indicating that he or she has entered incorrect information in the first name or SSID fields, the test administrator should use the Student Lookup tool in the test administrator interface to verify the student's information. Another common error occurs when the student enters an incorrect session ID. If a student receives the message, "The session is not available for testing," verify that the session ID was entered correctly with no extra spaces or characters. The session ID can be found in the test administrator interface. If a student receives the error message, "Session has expired," ensure that the student has entered the correct session ID for the current session. If the student has entered the session ID correctly, use the test administrator interface to verify that your session is still open. For a list of common login errors, please consult the Test Administrator User Guide. After logging in, students need to complete a few more steps before they begin testing. Students will be asked to view and verify their personal information. If their information is correct, they should click Yes to proceed to the Your Test screen. If their information is incorrect, they should click No to return to the login page. Test administrators must then contact their building or district test coordinator to have the student information updated in the Test Information Distribution Engine, or TIDE, before the student attempts to log in again. On the Your Test screen, students will see a list of their assigned tests for the test session. All subtests for listening, speaking, reading, and writing are included in one test. Students should only have a single test listed, which is appropriate for their grade. If the test displayed is incorrect, or the expected test is not listed, students should click the Back to Login button to return to the login page and consult the test administrator to resolve the issue. If a test has already been completed, the test selection button will be grayed out. Students should select the correct test and wait for test administrator approval to proceed. After the test administrator has approved students for a test session, students will see a screen titled, "Is this your test?" This screen displays the name of the test and whether or not any accessibility resources have been selected. If the information is correct, they should click, "Yes, start my test." If any of the information is incorrect, they should click "No" and then wait to be advised by the test administrator. Note that the actual settings students see may vary from what is shown on this slide. Be sure to refer to the scripts located in the test administration manual to guide students through the login and confirmation process. Be sure that all students taking ELPA21 tests have headphones. After selecting a test requiring audio, students will see a sound check screen. They will be prompted to click the sound icon and indicate whether the sound was audible by choosing either the No or Yes button. If students click Yes, they will proceed to the test. If they click No, they will receive a message advising them to tell the test administrator that they're having an audio problem. From there, they can click Try Again to listen to the sample audio again, or click Log Out to leave their test and work with the test administrator to adjust their audio settings. Be sure that all students taking ELPA21 tests have headphones and microphones. Preferably, students will be equipped with headsets that have built-in microphones. After verifying the test audio is functioning, students taking ELPA21 tests will need to verify that their microphones are functioning as well. They must click the microphone icon on this screen, record their name, stop the recording, and then play the recorded audio. If the recorded audio is clear, students click Yes. If it's not clear, students click Problem, No. If students click Yes, they will proceed to the test. If they click Problem, No, they will receive a message advising them to tell the test administrator about the microphone problem. From there, they can click Try Again to record an audio sample again, or click Log Out to leave the test and work with the test administrator to adjust their microphone settings. Let's return to the test administrator interface, which shows all students in the session who are ready to start their test. Once the test administrator starts the test session and students log in, he or she must approve their test settings before they can access their tests. It's very important to pay close attention to the test name prior to approving to be sure that students selected the appropriate test. You can do this by clicking the Approvals button. A list of students will display, organized by test name. The test administrator should review the list to make sure that all students chose the correct content area and test. The test administrator should also ensure that all of the settings that each student should have are correct. This is done using the I button in the See Details column. These test settings must be set up by an authorized user in TIDE prior to testing. See the TIDE user guide for more information. If no changes are needed, select Approve All Students to admit all students to the session. If a student selected an incorrect test, you must deny that student entry to the test session by clicking the X button in the Action column. Although you can approve all students at the same time, students must be individually denied entry into the test session. The test administrator should deny students entry into the session in these circumstances. The student is not supposed to enter this session, the student's demographic information is incorrect, or the student's required accommodations are incorrect. Denying the student entry into the test session will not prevent other approved students from beginning their tests. If the student's test settings are incorrect, the settings must be updated in TIDE or the test administrator interface before the student takes the test. Test administrators should contact their building or district test coordinator to have the settings updated. This will prevent resetting the test for the student later. Note that no settings can be changed while the student is actively testing. Once a student begins testing, the language option cannot be changed without resetting the test opportunity. Updates to background color or font size will take effect only after the student logs out and resumes testing. The online tests offer several accessibility resources to help students test successfully. These include universal features, designated features, and accommodations. Universal features available for all students include the ability to zoom in and zoom out of test pages, take notes or record responses in a digital notepad, use a highlighter to mark desired text, items, or response options, and raise and lower the volume control as needed using headphones. Authorized users can use Tide to manage accessibility resources for students. For more information on managing accessibility resources in Tide, refer to the Tide User Guide. For a full list of all universal features, designated features, and accommodations, please consult the Accessibility and Accommodations Manual on the Iowa ELPA21 portal. Students will encounter several types of items during testing. They must answer each item before proceeding to the next one. To answer selected response items, students must click on the desired answer option so that the letter A, B, C, or D becomes shaded. For interactive items, students need to follow the instructions given to know how to indicate their answer. For example, students may be told to click an object to identify the appropriate answer, drag pictures or words in a table, or click on a keypad. If they wish, students may click the Save button while working on interactive items to save their work. Regardless of whether they click Save or not, their answers will save automatically when they navigate to the next part of the test. After answering all items on a page, the student will click Next to go on. Students can use the Item Tutorial tool to get more information about a particular item type. Selecting Tutorial from the context menu for a question opens a pop-up that will show the student how that type of item works. For example, whether they should select an answer, drag and drop answers, or type a response in the answer space. As a security measure, after 20 minutes of test inactivity, students are logged out, and their tests are paused automatically. Inactivity is determined by whether or not the student is interacting with the test by selecting answers or using navigation tools. Students will receive a warning message prior to being logged out and must click OK on the pop-up within 20 seconds in order to avoid automatic logout and pausing of their test. If a student's test is paused, the student can log back in at any time during the testing window to resume testing and change answers. Additionally, if a screensaver is activated during testing, the security breach feature will log the student out of the test. To avoid any such interruption, schools should either deactivate screensavers before students start testing, or ensure that screensavers are set to more than the allocated testing time. When students answer the final question on their test, the End Test button will appear in the upper left section of the screen, along with a message advising them that the test has been completed and is ready to be submitted. The End Test button does not become visible until the student has selected at least one response to every question on the test. If students click the Next button at this point, they will see a pop-up advising them to click the End Test button when they have completed reviewing their answers. They may also click the Back button to go back and revisit previous items. When students are ready to end the test, they should click the End Test button. A pop-up message will appear allowing them to select Yes if they are ready to finish the test and No if they are not. If students select No, they will return to the last item of the test and can revisit previous items. If students click Yes, they will be taken to the review screen, where they have the choice to review their answers or submit the test. Students who are ready to submit their tests should click Submit Test to finish. They will receive a confirmation pop-up asking if they are sure they want to submit. Clicking No will return them to the review screen. Clicking Yes will take them to the end screen, which shows a message indicating that the test was successfully submitted and advising the student to log out. While students are taking their test administrator can monitor their status from this screen. A table shows each student's name, SSID, opportunity number, test name, requests, student status, test settings, and a pause test option. The Requests column displays a notification when students request a printout. We will discuss this in more detail shortly. The Test Settings column will display either Standard or Custom. The column displays Custom when a student's test settings are different from the default settings for that test. Click the I button to view a student's test settings. The Student Status column indicates the student's progress through the items in the test. It shows the total number of items completed thus far and the total number of items in the test. The Print on Request feature is available only for students who have an IEP or 504 plan that requires this accommodation. Test administrators should contact their building test coordinator if a student needs this accommodation. It is a testing impropriety to apply this restricted resource for a student who does not have an IEP or 504 plan documenting his or her need for the accommodation. Students with this accommodation can request printouts of stimuli and/or items depending on their settings. When a student sends a print request, the Printer button will appear in the Requests column of the monitoring screen. Click the button to view the request. If you click the Check button to approve the print request, a cover sheet containing the student's name and SSID will display in a new browser window. No test content will ever display on your screen. Click Print in the new window to complete the print request. The Printer dialog box will display. Adjust the print settings as needed. Click Approve to send the request to the printer. If you click the X button to deny the print request, nothing will be printed. Before approving the student's print request, ensure that it will be sent to a printer that is monitored by staff who have been trained in test security. All printed test items, stimuli, and reading passages must be securely stored and destroyed immediately following a testing session. The Approved Requests button allows the test administrator to view a list of every print request he or she approved during the current session. To print this list for your own records, click Print at the top of the Approved Requests window. If you wish to print a snapshot of the test administrator interface in its current view, click the Print Session button. This can be useful for tracking which students did not complete their tests and may need to be scheduled for another session. It may be necessary to set the page layout to landscape or adjust the margins in the print preview screen in order for the list to fit on the page. Remember that any printouts containing personally identifiable student information must be securely stored and should be destroyed after use. There are two options within the Test Administrator interface to pause or stop testing once it has begun. You can pause an individual student's test or stop the entire session. This slide lists some differences between the pause and stop functions. To pause an individual student's test, click the Pause button on the monitoring screen for that student. When prompted, click OK to confirm that you want to pause the test. This option would be appropriate if a student becomes ill, for example. In the event of an emergency that requires all students to stop testing, the test administrator can pause all students' tests by stopping the session. If you stop the session, all in-progress tests will be paused. If a session stops, it cannot be resumed. The test administrator will have to create a new session and give the new session ID to students so that they can resume testing. To stop the entire test session for all students, first click the Stop button in the upper right corner of the screen. An Important box will appear requesting verification to end the session and log students out. Next, click the OK button to continue. If you forget to log out before leaving the testing area, the session will close automatically after 30 minutes of inactivity in both the test administrator and student computers. The test administrator would then need to create a new session and provide the new session ID to students in order to resume testing. To log out of the test administrator interface, click the Log Out button in the top right corner of the screen. It is preferable to log out only after stopping your active test session, as logging out will cause all in-progress tests to be paused. A confirmation message will appear asking you to confirm that you want to exit the site and pause all students' in-progress tests. This scenario also occurs when you navigate to another site from the Test Administrator interface. However, regardless of when or how you log out or navigate away from the Test Administrator interface, student data will not be lost. If the test administrator needs to access another application, we recommend opening it in a separate browser window. Click Yes to proceed. When all students have completed testing, refer to the Test Administration Manual for instructions on destroying any printed testing materials and reporting testing improprieties or irregularities. This table presents some of the common issues that test administrators or students may encounter during a test session. Please take a moment to review this information. For more detailed information and additional technical tips, please refer to the Test Administration Manual and the Technical Specifications Manual for online testing. This overview was given from the perspective of using a Windows PC. Remember that students' experiences with the test will vary slightly depending upon the computers they are using for testing. Regardless of the type of device they will use, we strongly recommend that all students take the practice and training tests to familiarize themselves with the login process, the testing interface and its features, and the types of items they will encounter during testing. Practice and training tests can be accessed via your state portal. Thank you for viewing this training module. If you have general questions or need further information, visit the ELPA21 portal, the ELPA21 website, or consult your help desk for assistance. For detailed information, please consult the Test Administration Manual or contact your help desk.